Okay. Hello and good morning, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar on workplace safety culture. My name is Mackenzie Keller with the CSD Pool, and I'm joined by Brennan Mendus, one of our risk control consultants. Today's webinar will teach you how to define what a safety culture is, understand the traits of a positive and negative safety culture in the workplace, understand how to start building a positive safety culture, and how to find resources to assist you in building your district safety culture. If you have any questions throughout the webinar, you can put them in the chat so that me and our presenter can see them, and we will also have some time at the end set aside for you to ask questions. Also, this webinar is being recorded, and that recording will be distributed sometime later today. So if for any reason you have to step away, don't worry, you won't miss anything. You can always come back and watch it later. With that, Brennan, are you on and ready to present?
Unmute.
There you
There
go.
we go. All
Okay.
right. How about there? Can you hear me?
Yep.
All right, good. And you can see my PowerPoint. I have screens because I can't see what you can see.
Okay. Yes, we can see your screen. Do you have video?
Um, where did I turn? I don't know how I accidentally turned it off.
Okay.
Oh,
Hold on a second.
start my video, I guess. Okay.
Yes, there you go. Okay, welcome, Brennan.
All right. And then I can't blare. I thought we blocked my screen. All right. We'll just deal with that.
Yep.
All right. Thank you. Mackenzie, I appreciate you allowing me to be here. It's an honor to speak in front of you on positive workplace safety cultures. I want to give you a little bit about myself before we move into the actual presentation. So I am Brennan Mendus, as Mackenzie said. We have a Kinsey on our team. So, so as Mackenzie said, I've been in a safety and risk management arena my entire 36-year career. Started out as a safety engineer out of college, worked in consulting. The last 30 years, I've been in the public sector work in Colorado. For the last 9 years, though, I was a risk manager for the city of Commerce City, where I oversaw a safety and risk management program for the city of 900 employees. We had a very solid risk management program, and claims continued to drop. And I attribute that to our positive safety culture. And we all had the same vision and mission there. Um, our experience mod when I started with the city was a 1.35 back in 2016, and I was able to drop that through a positive safety culture to a 0.70 when I left the city in 2025. Now, granted, claims fluctuated over the years because we had accidents that occurred, but we were able to keep them in check. And over the years, my experience mod fluctuated, but it never went above a 0.98, which was good. Because the industry standard is a 1.0 on your experience mods when underwriting rates your policy. I predicated myself on the program because, again, as I mentioned, a positive safety culture. We practiced three three components, critical components, I called them: education, accountability, and recognition. We educated our employees on what they needed to do. We held them accountable to complete those actions, and then we rewarded them or recognized for a job well done. That model is part of workplace safety culture. Using those three things will help guide you to help keep your claims low and keep your employees safe. In the process, we were never punitive on this when somebody wasn't working in a safe nature because honestly, we just coached them more. We 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 saw the issues that came up, but we just provided more coaching so they could work in a safer manner. But before we get started, I into this further, I don't want to do a sit and get presentation here. Like Mackenzie said, the chat's open. Send notes to her. I can't see those notes, but then we can talk throughout the presentation. So I like to refer to my presentations as more of a set and engage. So if you're like, whoa, 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 Brennan, this doesn't make sense, please bring that up during the presentation and we can talk about it. What I used to tell my people in my last job was, we had a great safety program, but we were only one or two catastrophic claims away from a totally different program. And so that's why you need to constantly be vigilant on your workplace safety culture as you work through your jobs. Learning objectives today, we're going to talk about what is safety culture. It's basically the culture at your organization. Why build a positive safety culture? How to identify positive and negative cultures, and then also a positive how to build a positive safety culture in your organization, and then we're going to look at additional resources. First place, what is safety culture? In broad terms, it encompasses the overall culture, values, and actions in your organization, a constant reflection of perceptions, attitudes, and shared experiences. Perception is key because you can be it can be either leading a positive or negative safety culture if they perceive things a certain way. That's why you constantly need to stay on top of that perception. And attitudes are game changers as well. So perceptions and attitudes in the organization are huge components to this positive safety culture. I used to think um, I like to use positive statements in my conscious memory when I talk to employees, like, we can do this, I can do this, and failure is not an option. Or how do we get things fixed? If you put a negative spin on those things in your conscious, it does impact your subconscious, and then it turns into an attitude changer. So, by all means, you need to work on your perceptions and attitudes of the organization by talking to your employees, but also remember your work unit is a small microcosm of this whole safety culture. I like to use the phrase, it's what you do when no one is looking that makes you who you are. And you can use this phrase in safety culture as well. If somebody's wearing their safety glasses in front of me, that's good. But when they take them off, when I'm not around, that's bad. That's a negative culture thing. And so I you constantly stay on this so you don't erode attitudes and perceptions. So communication is key when it comes to safety culture. And stay positive because safety is contagious. If I get excited about this, as I do, that's why I've been in this for 36 years. You project that positive image, and people are there, jump on board with what you're doing. We have six components of a positive safety culture. And those six components are keeping employees safe, which is everybody wants to do that, right? Improves employee morale and trust. When I'm positive, when my employer knows I'm doing a job well done, doing a good job, that's going to make me want to work even better or harder. It reduces costs because you're not paying for claims. It guides managers to make good decisions. If you have an injury, obviously it changes your focus, so you can't make the decisions you need to make. It strengthens compliance naturally. OSHA compliance through training. You have company policies that are improved, and then also you follow the manufacturer's recommended operations, and it builds a positive mindset or a proactive mindset. We all have reactive risk or safety programs. We react to claims that occur. Any company has that when you hire somebody on. Providing the training to get the jobs done turns that pro reactive mindset into more of a proactive set. And now you're also preventing claims from occurring. And that's a huge game changer when you're looking at uh, um, changing the mindset of your operation. Positive and negative safety cultures. Safety culture is not inherently positive. Again, perceptions and attitudes can change something really positive into a negative thing pretty quickly. Obviously, negative cultures do the opposite of what we've discussed. Puts people in danger, it lowers employee morale, increases costs and absences because you now are you now are paying claims. Uh, Actually, yeah, you're paying claims, and as a result, it's redirecting your efforts to get to the goals you need to get completed through increased costs. And honestly, if I have an employee that's down, instead of if I have 10 employees on my staff, one gets injured, now I'm doing the work. I have to do the work with my 9 employees, do the work of 10. So now all of a sudden I'm getting burned out because I'm already exhausted. So now we're looking at additional absences on top of that. But it guides managers to make poor decisions. They can't make the decisions they need to make because now they have to focus on, oh, I got to adjust that claim. Now I got to figure out how to adjust the schedule. So they have to maybe they take shortcuts to help save time. Those are the poor decisions we want to try to avoid by having a negative safety culture. It naturally weakens compliance. If I have a bad culture, I'm not providing the training that's required either federally or, excuse me, by my organization. And as a result, we're skipping the training and it builds a reactive mindset. Again, to go back to that proactive, reactive stance. We want to avoid being reactive much as possible and shift our programs to be more of a proactive standpoint. I wanted a slide in here to show you this side by side, and I want you to think about this. Be honest with yourselves. What does your organization look like? So take some time and be honest. Look at these pieces. You don't have to tell me. I want you to think about it in your individual organizations. Do you have a positive safety cultures or a negative culture? Again, are you doing the things like confined space entry? Are you doing the trainings that are needed to enter a confined space properly to keep people safe? Or are you not or doing the training that's necessary and just giving them the keys to the mansion? That puts people in danger. What's your morale at your organization? Is it positive or is it negative? You can see so much by talking. You can learn so much by talking to somebody and learning what they're doing. Is your From a number standpoint more of a finance side, but are your costs reduced or lower, or are the costs increased? With a negative safety culture, you're going to have more accidents, which those more accidents are going to lead into more increased costs, which means what's the first thing that happens when you have higher losses or budget constraints? Sometimes they cut safety first and foremost. Are your managers making good decisions? Again, these are things I want you to think about. Maybe take a snapshot of this because this is the guiding principles for this program as we talk today. Or are guys managers into making poor decisions? What does your culture look like? How are your managers working with you? Your positive culture naturally strengthens compliance, and I see it all the time when I'm out in the field. What they're calling us in, they're doing trainings. It's exciting to see these things. So that means their culture is pretty positive. But if I'm not being called out, our claims are high, our experience mods are higher, um, um, then compliance might be weakened just because you have to shift what you do in the course of a day. Um, and is your organization in a proactive mindset, meaning you have safety money to work on your programs? Or is it more of a builds a reactive mindset, meaning you don't have money to do the jobs you need to do? Again, compare these 6 items to your organization. You don't have to tell me because I'm just sharing with you a positive safety culture. But what does your culture look like? Take this training and try to enter it into what you do, where you are. Start with your microcosm, your little or your portion of the organization before you move out into further departments. But honestly, and you can again, take this even larger, like your microcosm is important, but you can take this even further to talk to individual departments through the safety team, things like that. Again, think to yourself, Does your district have a strong support for safety initiatives from leadership? Or have leadership, or you have a leadership team that doesn't give much thought to safety? Safety can be a second, safety third. It's not safety first for some of these organizations. Not in ours, not in our entities, or not in our districts, but throughout. I have seen that leadership's not very positive. Does your does your district follow safety procedures even if it takes longer to do the work? Again, if your managers are on board, it's safety before production. You want to look at some of those things. Do they take, even if it takes longer, or occasionally cut corners on safety procedures to save time? A good example of this is maybe I need an 8-foot ladder to do some work, and I only have a 6-foot ladder. Instead of taking the time to go get the right size ladder, I'm just going to stand on the top rung or the top of that ladder to get what I need done. It's going to save time, but you're also risking your own personal safety. And it's those kinds of things we just want to avoid because you can see this in your organization every day. And if you need to get the equipment you need to do your jobs correctly. Do you have employees that feel comfortable reporting safety concerns, or do they fear reporting out of the negative repercussions for them? Again, use your safety team. If you don't have a safety team, consider creating one, but also just a department team. It doesn't have to be organization wide. We'll get into organizational wide ones in shortly here, but if you have a safety team, that's a good way to help report safety concerns. But don't just sit on that information, do something with it. And as to tell them either we can financially or can't take care of those issues. So don't be discouraged. If you're like, Brennan, everything you've mentioned here, I'm on the negative side of that. My claims are up. My leadership's terrible. My morale is down. It's in the toilet. Don't be discouraged. It's completely normal to have concerns with your organization because no one's perfect. But what I want you to do is could make safety a process. Safety, because safety is a process that needs constant attention. It's not safety at one time, it's safety all the time. In my last job, we did safety puzzles every month. There were little things like ladder safety. I mean, we just did search and finds or puzzles. It was just from the standpoint of getting safety in the forefront of everybody's mind. And that's really what you want to do is keep the safety in the forefront of everybody's mind. And we turned those puzzles into dollars, which were then cashed in at the end of the year as well. So it was a nice incentive program from a recognition standpoint to keep people safe. If you don't have those things, that's fine because you're already here. You're making progress because you're here today. And we can help further after we get through this. It's like share more with me what you've been working on or what you've done. And maybe you can incorporate some of these things into your individual program. Let's see. How to build a positive safety culture? There's 6 steps. These are 6 steps that you could use. Lead by example, because employees are watching what you do. You might say, I don't have the bandwidth to do this, or I don't have the authority to improve my safety culture. Yes, you do. You lead by example. You wear the vest you need when you're walking across the yards, the hard hats, the personal protective equipment. You're going to lead by example because employees are watching what you do. It's like when I was up in a district last week. We all got in this district manager's car. We're in the back seat, Kyle and I, and there's 4 of us in a car. And first thing he said was, "Is everybody wearing their seatbelts?" That's a huge positive safety culture moment right there. Before he even started a car, he asked if we were all, because we were only going a couple of miles away, but that speaks volumes of their safety culture. But when they do things like that, encourage employee involvement, help them help you type of attitude. You want them to be involved in your program because They're the subject matter experts. They see right initially, they're living that potentially dangerous situation right then and there. So uh, they use them to help build your program, but also to help you reach your goals. And that's what we want is because it's all these smaller safety successes are going to lead into larger safety successes down the line. Provide resources for employees. You're going to look at training and tools for the proper equipment. Make sure they have the right tools to do the job. If you have cheap, ineffective tools, it's going to take longer to work with those tools. Or maybe they break and you can't get them. You can't get, maybe yeah, they break and you can't use them. So it just takes longer to get your job done. Provide safety goals and benchmarks. We can do this right now. How do you eat an elephant? We've heard the phrase one bite at a time. Well, just break that out. Talk about your safety goals. We want to reduce accidents by 10%. Well, I'm sorry, I'm getting. We want to recognize rewards and safe behaviors. Recognition is critical. If you recognize that I'm doing good work, I will work even harder in the long run. And then also listen. Listen to your employees. Listen and learn because you want to learn what they're doing. Leading by example. Now let's break down the six components of a positive safety culture. You want to, they talk about it as trickle-down effect. Leadership influences management, influences supervisors, influences field-level employees. Well, it works both ways. It works down, trickles down, but it also works its way up. If I see, if you see something and say something to an employee next to you, it's like, hey, where's your hard hat? Where are your glasses? Things like that. That's an employees looking out for each other, so it works its way back up as well. Leadership has lofty goals they need to achieve, and we are part of that operation, and we need to be a part of that. What we do in a microcosm of the organization helps lead them or helps them meet their goals. Um, if management is asking us to accomplish one thing but showing no interest, then what's the point? If I if if you don't if you ask me to do if my manager asks me to do something but doesn't really care what I'm doing or explain how that works for me or how that fits into the organization, then I mean I'm not going to have much of an interest to do that. And as a result, because employees are watching what you do, if you're like, you know what, they don't really care what we're doing, I'm not going to pay attention to that. Be a good cheerleader and recognize the good job they're doing. So management comes to me and says, I need you to do this. I get it done. Then they recognize that job that I'm doing. Then by all means, it's a good, it keeps me motivated to work even harder. Encourage employee involvement by getting involved. Get involved yourself. Step up. Actions speak louder than words. We need to get this. Well, yeah, but I will help you to get this. So things like little toolbox talks are great examples. You can build the first toolbox talk yourself and then do it. I mean, we have guidelines that can help you if you have questions about building a toolbox talk, but build a toolbox talk, present it, and get more people involved. And you get somebody else who steps up and says, "Hey, I'd like to do the next toolbox talk." By all means, help them work through the parameters of that to help build them, make them successful in their effort to change their safety culture as well. So it gets more people involved. Get to know the people you work with and learn what's important to them. You want to listen to them and take actions and but also to take action on what they are telling you. If you can't do it, by all means, tell them why it's not realistic to do that. If I come up to if I go up to my manager and say I think everybody should have Herman Miller chairs from an ergonomic standpoint for ergonomic safety reasons, that's not realistic. They're $2,500 a piece, if not more. That's not a budgetary item. We can provide things that'll improve ergonomics in that situation, but you just, again, it goes back to talking, listening to your employees, find out what's important to them, but also tell them what you can and cannot do. Encourage them to use their voices and bring up concerns. Go back to that phrase. If you see something, say something, because I don't know what I don't know. I can't see what you see out in the field. Situational awareness in every is a great piece of inform is a great thing practice to follow anytime because it's a proactive approach to safety. You want to understand what you're up against in any situation. Again, encourage them to bring up concerns, and you do that through department meetings, or you can move it through to a safety team meeting so they can actually speak their voice. Provide resources, mission statements, policies, procedures, and manuals. These are your guiding principles. These are the things you need to help you your job properly. Conduct appropriate trainings from a positive safety culture standpoint. There's a whole list of checklist items for a confined space entry on a permit required confined space, gas monitors, forms, and roles and responsibilities. Make sure your people know they're properly trained before they actually do certain aspects of the job. Make sure they're safe in that operation. Provide safer tools and equipment as you work through this. Back in the day, for me, I used to buy cheap tools. They weren't effective and they just broke periodically. It would take me longer to get something done with a cheaper tool because I was end up the tool would break, then my operation would just get shut down until I got the right tools for the job. So take time to spend the money to get the right tools for the job. If you've got an employee has to bring their own tools, company because the company tools are cheap and ineffective, that's not a good thing. It provides a poor perception of the company overall, and it really does change attitudes quickly. Provide appropriate PPE and make it accessible. Make it accessible. You want to be able to get to it. They don't have to write out. You don't have to, you know, write up a requisition to get a pair of safety glasses. Make the equipment accessible. If they're not wearing a PPE like they should be, then find out. Ask them. Maybe it's hitting their temple, like safety glasses might be hitting your temple incorrectly because they're too tight. It's those kinds of things you want to ask and listen and ask questions and listen and learn. And then ask for help if you need it from consultants. We're at the pool here, we can help. But you also have subject matter experts outside of the pool, meaning you have peers that can help do cross training with you. Equipment manufacturer consultants are also a good example of that. So make sure you provide the resources for your employees so they can do their jobs. Provide goals and benchmarks as you look at this, as you look at improving your program. Cut injuries by 25%, or maybe it's more of, hey, let's prevent 5 accidents, reduce accidents by 5 in the next quarter. 6 months accident free. I mean, that's a good example, or just say no more back injuries. My first job with a school district, we had first thing I looked at were back injuries. And we had 4 back injuries over $50,000. A couple of them were up into the six-figure range. What's the first thing I did? I created an ergonomic program. That ergonomic program provided education and training on how to lift properly, but I also provided the PPE that was needed to keep, for back belts so you didn't strain yourself. But then we also provided a double lifting, a two lift when you're looking at lifting items over 50 pounds. All of those things together, and then I rewarded them for a job well done. All of those things compiled together, we ended up dropping all those 4 claims off within a year or so. Everybody back to work actually. So we're back at MMI, maximum medical improvement, is what that stands for. So if you're like, well, wait a minute, Brennan, how did the system get so bad to have that many claims in the first place? Well, I was the first safety person in that role that moved into the risk manager. There was nobody watching the shop. And so as a result, these claims just kept going, getting spiraling out of control because they didn't have somebody in there to look at their safety culture. And that's what we were, again, that school district days were very successful. But I wanted to share with you that it just takes little steps. Get somebody involved, helping to oversee the safety program. Provide goals using organization. Providing goals gives the organization some direction and helps attack the current major issues. Again, you have a mark. You're looking this. You know what you're looking for. Our goal is to do this. Our goal is to do one toolbox talk a week or a day or something. You put those goals out there. They're measurable goals that you can say, yep, at the end of the week, we did these things. And then you can cross-reference that into like injury prevention, accident reduction, which turns into injury prevention. So you have a lot of flexibility there. Focusing is like all those smaller goals accomplishes larger goals as well. Again, focus on, it says on here, focusing on larger goals often accomplishes many smaller goals, but it works both ways. Those smaller incremental steps on your smaller goals leads to a larger goal accomplishment as well. So get involved in your program. Make sure you talk to your people as you work through this because you want to make sure they're, the attitude and perceptions are in a good place to begin with. And then you also have some measurable goals for yourself or for your department. Recognize and reward safe behaviors. Showing appreciation for employees goes a long way. Lunches, PTO, an extra day of time off, raffles for safety observations. All of these things I see when I travel the state, and they're awesome because it's recognition that you need for a job that you know you did well. If I got nobody recognizing what I'm doing, I, it's going to make me not want to work as hard to do that. Incentivization, incentivizing participation and action will help sustain the health of the attitude around safety. Participate, participation is key in these programs. My my last job, we incentivized everybody, and you got safety points for the programs you do used. Uh, and then we cashed in at the end of the year. All those safety points they turned into safety bucks, safety dollar, actually, yeah, safety dollars. Then we give the money back at the end of the year because of the things they were doing. They weren't incentivized when I first started this program in 2017, but by 2019, I was giving away thousands of dollars because people were keep staying safe and keeping claims low. It's a huge reward for you to oversee something like that and get more involved in that because and they love what you're doing too because they know you're working just as hard as they are. Again, your actions speak louder than words. But be careful not to be too harsh about punishing unsafe behaviors. We never tried to make any of our programs punitive, ever, because what good is that if I say something, if you allow me to say something because of my positive safety culture, but then then you penalize me and get because of something I said incorrectly, that's going to just make me shut down and not even do anything. So what we ended up doing was we coached them a little further along the way. As we coached them through the operation, it helped them to be, realize what they needed to change or how we could all work together um, in a safer manner. So again, you want employees to be open to telling you what's going on, even if those concerns are their fault. You can't, I mean, sometimes they're out in the field, and as they see those things, you don't penalize them for saying, uh, even if it is their fault, like I said, just coach them to do better. Again, you're hired employees to complete a job. When they do that job every day, they're likely to be the first to notice any safety concerns. Listen. You want to listen to what they have to say. They're they're the ones that are impacted directly by that dangerous condition. So you want to listen, but you also want to learn what their concerns are. Sometimes we get out in the field and maybe they don't have from a confined space entry standpoint, maybe they don't have enough oxygen meters to measure the oxygen level in that confined space. Well, help advise them what they need to do so they're not put in that dangerous condition, or help them pass on to management what is needed to help them from an equipment standpoint so they can do their job in a safer manner. Listen to what they say, but also be accountable. Make yourself accountable to them. Education, accountability, and recognition. When you listen to an employee, you're now accountable to them so you can at least address their issue. Don't blow it off. Don't look the other way. At least tell them why you can or cannot do something. That's so key because you're learning what they're doing. But if you don't say anything, if you don't do anything with what they're saying, and maybe you don't, that's not your role to say something or to be able to do something to make change. Go to a supervisor that can make the change. Then say, hey, we have these concerns. Listen to what they say, learn from that and take action on those items. And don't take feedback as criticism. My last job as a risk manager, there were many times it was hard to hear what they had to say early on because there were things I knew that needed to be done, but management didn't give us the wherewithal to get it done initially. And so try not to get too defensive. We listened, we took action, and we fixed all those things to have a very successful program. But I mean, there were times when I could have just been so defensive out of the gate and said, with a smart aleck response, I didn't want to do that just because that would have not helped anybody in that situation. We are here at the pool. And there are a lot of resources available to you. We have safety shares. We have safety consultations. We'll come to you. I'm based out of my house right now. You can see my background in the basement, but we travel 2,000 miles a month to come see you. We have Prepare Us, which is a business continuity program. We're just kicking off, or we're just getting off the ground. Um, because I mean, emergency shutdown operations, you still got to keep things rolling for everybody that's on on this call right now. So look into Prepare Us. You want to pilot it at your program or see more about that. It's a great business continuity plan so things don't get shut down. And we have loss analytics. Loss analytics are, we can look at your loss history. We can also look at your stewardship reports from a management standpoint, but we can actually help you guide you as a as we look at your individual programs. If I see a bunch of claims in a certain area on a spreadsheet or on a graph, we can probably extrapolate from there where we need to be. We're here to help. We can do safety audits, things like that. Visit our website at csdpool.org for more information, or just text us now if you wanted to as well. Yeah, again, csdpool.org is a great start to get in there, or you can do our safety at csdpool.org as well. But that's all the resources I have. Do you have any questions for me?
Yeah, so that wraps up the main portion of our presentation. If anyone has any questions for Brennan, please take the time now to go ahead and put those in chat. Brennan, I had a quick question for you.
Yeah.
Earlier in the presentation, you mentioned toolbox talks, which is something that our organization uses, but that
Yes.
might be not be something that all of our members are familiar with. Could you explain what those are?
Oh yeah, thank you. So a toolbox talk is just a 5 minutes training. Again, put safety in the forefront of everybody's mind. It's a 5 to 10 minute training on a specific topic in your particular area. We have those toolbox talks. We have them at the pool. We can share those with you. We can help you build your own individual toolbox talks if you want specific, site specific for your area. So as a result, these toolbox talks are done on a regular basis. You can just kick off a Monday morning meeting or a morning meeting with the toolbox talk, just so they keep safety in the forefront of their minds. We have a lot of those resources at safe on the pool website, and we'll gladly share any of those with you.
Awesome. And also, some of you might have seen in the chat, our coworker Alex on the communications team let us know that the CSD pool has one sheet toolbox talks all ready to go online at our website. The link is in the chat for any of you who are interested in that. And I'm not seeing any other questions come through at the moment. Okay. So I think that brings that to a wrap today. Brennan, thank you so much for presenting.
Can I,
It's great
can
having
I,
you.
thank you very much, Mackenzie. Can I say one more thing?
Yeah, of course.
Thank you. So again, thank you for your time in this presentation. But again, if you're after the fact and you think of something, we know what I should have mentioned this or that, reach out to safety@csdpool.org. That comes directly to us in risk control. So if you think of something after today's presentation, I can gladly circle back with you at a later date. That's all.
Oh, and we did have one question come through.
Okay.
How often should a safety committee meet?
Well, it depends on your organization. We met monthly with my last job. Monthly is a good routine. It's hard to get 15 people together on a monthly basis, just logistics wise with everybody. But I have a department on the Western Slope. They're just going to meet quarterly. And quarterly is good. Get started with quarterly, and if you need to meet more frequently, then by all means. But starting at least quarterly, get members from every level of the organization. You know, managers, employees, supervisors. You want a wide range of people on your safety committee. So, represents each department, but again, it looks at managers as well as supervisors and employees across the whole organization. But routinely is important. So probably, like I said, monthly, but at least if you can, at least do it on a quarterly basis. And we can
Yep.
help you. We can help you build that process if you need as well.
Yes. And Alex put that in the chat. You're more than welcome to request safety consultation or training from us. You're able to do that through our website or also at safety@cscpool.org. If you shoot us an email, we'll be able to help you out. Okay.
Oh,
I'm not seeing any more questions come through. So tentatively, I'm gonna wrap it up. Once again, Brennan, thank you so much for presenting today. Thank you all for joining us on this lovely Tuesday morning. If you have any questions, please, you're more than welcome to reach out, and I hope you all have a great day.
thank you and have a safe day.